and welcome to Real Nurse Stories. Today I'm interviewing Iris, and Iris is recently qualified as an enrolled nurse, and she's working in rural Western Australia. Hi Iris, and welcome to Real Nurse Stories.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. It's always a pleasure to have the opportunity to interview nurses, so thank you for volunteering.
That's all right.
So Iris, tell me a little bit about your journey into nursing and how you became a nurse. What made you want to become a nurse in the first place?
Well, funny enough, going back 3 years now, nursing was never actually on the table, and the thought of nursing actually never wanted to go into it, more or less. I did a lot of work with surf life, and I've done a lot of stuff in the past and really liked the paramedicine side of things. I think one of their final assessments was like beach trauma things. And so we'd always have like the head assessors down there, and they were like, I think you'd be really good at paramedicine. Why not do that after school? I ended up doing split ATAR and general pathway. So I was doing ATAR until like halfway through year 11, and then realized that wasn't for me, but kept my English and maths, and then did a whole lot of general subjects. And one of those subjects was careers. And like one of the like assessments we had to do was research a profession in the future you'd want to go into, and like the job outcome and the salary and all the things that you probably should be looking into at a young age.
Yeah.
And did a bit of diving into paramedicine and realized it's a bit of a one-way job in the sense that people who'd got into it got stuck and found it very hard to move out of it if things did happen. And I'm a 5-10 year planner in the future kind of person, and that sent me into an absolute stress head at 17, being like, if I'm 23 and X happens on the job and I don't know what to do and I can't go back to work, what am I going to do from there? Do I have to go back to uni all over again? Like, why can't I use the degree that I've had for 3-4 years into something else? And that got me thinking. And then mum kind of put the idea in my head of, what? Because I did Cert 4 in business enterprise in year 12. And she's like, why don't you go to TAFE? And I think they do nursing at TAFE. And I was like, never. Why would you suggest that? I am not a nurse. I like to be in the front of it. No way in hell am I. No. So I applied for uni. I ended up getting accepted into ECU for paramedicine, but ended up declining it because I actually got into TAFE for enrolled nursing. Okay. And I thought, well, why not? We'll give it a shot. The first 6 months, I think I came home nearly every day crying. I just didn't get it. It was I didn't realize what I was signing myself up for, because I did the diploma at TAFE, and I was like, oh my God, my little brain is going to explode. And I had friends, because a lot of my friends, when you come in at year 12, the expectation is you go to university. So I had all my friends doing like really cool subjects at uni, being like, you're at TAFE. Why are you at TAFE? You probably just sit around and just play with blocks all day. And I'm like, I'm in there from 8 till 5 most days.
Yeah.
And assessments were, oh God, they were horrid. Just the thought of them sends me into, oh. And so yeah, and as I went through, like I did, so first semester was basically like all the basic stuff and like your aged care. And I didn't like that, but it was a really good foundation into making me realize that I do sort of like where this is leading into, and I like the fact that I can make a change.
Yeah.
And it was nice to know that, because my aged care prac was not one of the nicest ones, but it was nice to know that I learned what was bad and what was good and bad, and how to be a good nurse and work with that in the future.
Yeah.
Which was really good. And then as I went on, I ended up doing heaps like medical side, and I fell in love with it. And one thing that I really liked about TAFE was it was short, sharp pracs, but we got a taste of everything. So we did a whole heap of mental health. We did a whole heap of like community, like prac stuff. Like went out to community and did like health tests for the government and stuff. Yeah. We did a whole heap of like surgical. We did medical. We did the whole stuff. And by the end of it, I was hooked, and I really, really liked it.
There was no going back.
Pretty much, and now I'm kind of sitting here contemplating, because I'm currently the baby on my ward. Yeah. And everyone's like, go do your RN. I'm like, do I go do my RN? Do I go into more paramedicine side now that I've actually got my foot in the door and I've got something to fall back on, more or less?
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's my story, at least.
So tell me what happened when you qualified as enrolled nurse. What happened then? Did you manage to get a grad placement?
I did. I ended up being lucky enough to get a position in the Southwest. So I decided to pack up all my stuff and move rural. But even getting that was really hard. I remember I graduated probably with a group of like 150, 250 people. And maybe about, I think I know 6 of us who got grads.
Yeah.
So grads they are incredibly, incredibly hard to get.
Yeah.
And I knew from when I started my enrolled nurse diploma that I didn't want to stay metro. I wanted to get out, and I wanted to kind of experience a bit of WA.
Yeah.
So I thought, screw it, I'll apply rural. And I kept in contact with one of the girls that I was friends with that applied for grads, because not many people did, but it was really hard to get into the processes. And I messaged her. It was like the Thursday where like email interviews were being sent out, being like, come in on Monday for an interview. I messaged her on the Thursday. I was like, have you heard anything in the last like 6-8 weeks? She was like, I got an email saying they've looked at my application, but I haven't got anything else. And I was like, I haven't even got an email saying they're reviewing my application yet. Like, mine must have been shocking. Oh no. And that was like the Thursday, and I spent the Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday in an absolute teary state. I just cried. I was like, I've been looking for jobs, I'm not good enough, XYZ. And then on Tuesday morning, it was like 8 o'clock, I got this call, and they were like, yeah, want to do a phone interview? You're actually one of the applicants for the grad. And I was like, yes, of course, happy to. But going back to the interview, I think it was the most stressful thing doing a phone interview. I have never been more stressed, it was horrible. It was because I'm a body reading person. So it was just you get emailed 20 minutes before with all the questions you've got to talk about, and just waiting for that email. Then the email came late. So I'm sitting there trying to scramble all these quick questions or like answers down and and it was just,
stressful.
Very, very stressful. So I wouldn't recommend a phone interview to anyone in the future.
But hey, you got a grad place, so your approach paid off, didn't it? Which is great.
Definitely.
And I think that's the thing, Iris, that if you're willing to kind of, I want to say, think outside the box a bit, a lot of people don't want to consider taking a grad place in a rural area, but it's actually a really great way, A, to see some beautiful parts of Western Australia, and B, to get a foot in the door, because if you're willing to be flexible, there are opportunities to experience nursing in a rural area. So I think that was a great move for you, getting a grad place, and a massive thing to kind of up sticks and move to somewhere new. Because did you have any connections in the Southwest? None at all.
I thought, why not just completely uproot my life and go? I know I liked the area, and I'd been down that way camping a few times with my partner and a few friends, so I knew it was a good area. And the way that my mum explained it to my family was, it's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's big enough that it's got a Coles and a Woolworths.
Yeah.
So that was the best way she could explain it. It's not tiny, but it's pretty small. But
yeah. So tell me about, what was that like when you kind of first arrived there? You'd packed everything up, you'd taken a great big leap of faith, and you arrived in the Southwest. What was that like?
Scary and very cold, very, very cold. But it was more or less the structure of, I'm the youngest in the wards. I'm 19, or was 19 when I started, so I'm just turned 20. And it was more or less everyone, like even people I was working with, like people who had just graduated from like doing their RN, were like 24, 25. We've got a lot of like mature aged people that have come to work. And it was more or less just being put in a position where I felt like I was very unqualified for the job, and I was second guessing myself a lot, and it was like, should I even be here? Am I even good enough? But overall, it wasn't so bad. Like, looking back now, I'm glad I made the move. I feel like I've taught myself a lot, and I've realized that I live by myself, and it's like I've realized that I do value in my independence, and I don't mind coming home to an empty house every now and then.
Yeah.
And it's nice to kind of not have to come back. Like when I come back to Perth, I'm seeing friends for breakfast and for lunch, and I'm doing things. I've got an appointment, so it's nice to kind of like, if I've got 3 or 4 days off, just to sometimes just lay in bed for 4 days and just
Yeah.
watch TV.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great. And it's like there's so much. Like I've gone for hikes and I've gone for like drives. I've gotten lost so many times in my little tiny car on 4-wheel drive tracks where I probably shouldn't be, but have somehow ended up on there. But yeah.
That's a great adventure, isn't it? And that's, you know, as you describe that, I get that sense from you that you do have that spirit of wanting to take an adventure and see where it goes. And that's really great. It's a great approach to have.
Definitely.
So where are you now? Are you still on your grad placement, or have you finished your grad? Whereabouts are you now?
So I'm about to come up to halfway through my grad. So I started, so grads start in March and finish in September. Start in March and finish in March, or start in September and finish in September.
Yeah.
So I do know at the moment, because I just had my last grad day on Monday.
Okay.
And we're having a huge chat with the grad coordinator, and she was saying there's about 30 of us at the moment who are in the March intake, and that's for the whole of the Southwest.
Yeah.
But for going forward with the new announcements from the WA government, there's going to be 40 people for each September and each March. I think for September there's only like 12, 15 of them coming on.
Yeah.
So it's like a huge influx of people coming in, which I think is going to be really exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. And what kind of areas have you stayed in the one area as a grad, or have you moved around, Iris?
So where I applied to is I do 9 months at my main site, and then I go to, I think it's not a 222 site, but it's an MP site, I'm pretty sure. So it's pretty much, there's only 2 nurses on at all times. So it's all telehealth. It's all doctors on TVs. I can't remember the name. But it's all pretty much, it's just you and your senior or whoever you're working with at the time. And I do know there's a few, I think there's like 3 or 4 residents who live at the place. Other than that, you're working the full ED department. They've got an inpatient of about 3 or 4. So it'd be nice to work in a completely opposite environment, because I've come from obviously metros. I've worked at all the major hospitals, and I'm used to like going and finding a doctor to take a slow release, or bringing a doctor to come review a patient, where even when I'm like where I am currently, if you've got a problem with your patient at 3 a.m, you're calling the doctor to come in, or you're doing a phone order for XYZ and you've got to monitor them, and because they could be 40 minutes away because no one lives in town, or they do. And so it's different, but it's nice at the same time.
And that's it. I mean, you must have learned and developed your skills so much in that setting, because you don't, as you say, you don't have that kind of team behind you. You have a virtual team, don't you, that you contact through telehealth, but you, in the sense of your physical work environment, you are working with 1 or 2 other people, and that's it.
Yeah. So one thing I have learnt majorly is when doctors are around, you absolutely pick their brains and you get everything you need signed, because if you get to 10 o'clock and you haven't recharted their anticoags or whatever not, then you're in a pickle and you're the one to blame, which is completely fair enough.
Yeah.
But also going back to like limited resources, things like we get heaps of wounds down, like heaps of like diabetic wounds, or like anything from an injury, and things like we don't have the same stock supplies as major hospitals for like wound care. So I did a telehealth wound appointment with someone the other day, and she and the lady was like, "Oh, put a vac dressing on it." We were like, "We don't have a vac dressing. We're gonna have to order that for 3 or 4 days. So can we come back and put that on and get another review on it?"
Yeah.
Not bad at all, but it's nice, and like the people that I work with have worked in this area for so long that they know how to adapt and how the best way to go about things, and not rely solely on other people to do their job.
Yeah. You've got to be a critical thinker, haven't you, to be able to do that? You've got to be able to think on your feet and improvise, and they're good skills to learn, actually.
Definitely.
So what when you kind of finish your grad placement, where do you want to be? What thoughts have you got about, are you going to stay working in the Southwest, or what are your dreams?
This is where I'm kind of stuck with at the moment, because I really do like working not in Perth.
Yeah.
I really enjoy, I can't even put my finger on it, but I really do love it, and I do want to stay. But at the same time, because I am only an enrolled nurse,
Yeah.
with this year's experience, I'm kind of lost between where do I go back to uni? Oh, do I go back to uni at all? A, but B, if I do it online, which I probably will be absolutely rubbish at, so I probably have to do it in person, which means I probably have to move back to Perth. But then at the same time, I really want to go up north. That's my next adventure. So I'm more or less, do I go up north somewhere first as an enrolled nurse and then come back and do my RM? But then everyone's telling me that I should do my RM whilst I'm young, because I think it's only about 18 months to 2-year conversion, more or less. But from working where I am now, I really understood that I really like peds, and I really like trauma still. So I really want to do more of an ED ped background. So hopefully maybe I can transfer somewhere up to Perth. So I do know, I think with the grad, you are guaranteed a job of some sort, but in the southwest. So I don't know what my next is after everything, but I think I'm going to hang around for an extra six months a year after.
Well, especially if you've got options, you know, beyond your grad placement, it gives you a little bit of time, doesn't it, to kind of work in a role and then kind of sort out where to from here, really.
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the biggest problems at the moment is, I know for myself when I moved down here and for a few of my friends, that, for example, for me, I found it really hard to find housing down here. And I do know that with a lot of the new hospitals being built, a lot of the nursing quarters are getting scrapped, or if they are still there, they keep them solely for agencies and XYZ. And with this new influx of people or grads being offered in the southwest, I feel like if you're not from the area or like wanting or have connections down there, like family, it's really hard to kind of establish roots down there unless you're really determined. I've gone through and joined up sports and outside, whatever not. But yeah, I think I'm lucky enough that I do really like, and I don't mind being by myself, and I go out and play hockey every now and then, and I've got friends outside I can go see. But I know that's not the case for a lot of my friends, and they've had to either some of them maybe drop out of their grad because they can't find housing and they have to drive nearly 2 hours to work every day, and they can't do that anymore.
You've got to be fairly resilient, haven't you, to be able to kind of do a placement like that where you've no connections, no family. It's quite tough, because you've not only got, are you trying to learn the ropes as a grad nurse in an area that you've never worked in, but you've got all those added other kind of pressures about finding somewhere to live, which is a challenge, as you say. It is a challenge.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. That's a fascinating, it's a fascinating journey, and I can just, I bet you've had some fabulous experiences and met some incredible people along the way. And I just want to ask you, Iris, kind of how did you manage to kind of find support for you in terms of growing your skills, and did you have a mentor, or what kind of helped you on that journey?
Well, we're a really small site, and I'm lucky enough that I do work with some really skilled people who I've drawn and sucked so much information out of currently. And they have worked mainly either in like remote areas up north or down south for a while. So then we get a few people who come from Perth every now and then, and they're just completely thrown like I was.
Yeah.
So it's nice to kind of bounce off people and gain information of people who know what they're doing and know how things are go about. More or less, since we're a really small site, we don't have anything like an education nurse or like a staff development nurse. It's more or less like we have people who like run training sessions or whatever not, but we get a lot of external things. Like we had someone come down for palliative meeting the other day, and and the grad days have been a really, really good source of information because of that. So we, like the other day, we did a huge code blue pretty much day with like peds and pregnant ladies and we've had talks from wound specialists. But yeah, I think education-wise, it's been good, and I've learnt so much that I wouldn't have if I stayed metro.
Yeah.
So I've seen weird wound cases, I've seen bone cases, I've seen situational cases, I've seen a whole lot of everything, but nothing has ever been a bad experience, especially palliative. I've had a whole heap of palliative in the southwest, and I have never seen or even heard of palliative till I came down here.
Yeah.
We've got a great palliative team down here.
Yeah. Well, that's also great experience to have, isn't it? Those skills that you learn, you know, helping patients who are on palliative care pathways are skills that you can take with you, can't they, really, wherever. What has been for you, Iris, the most difficult part of kind of doing your training, being a grad? What's been the most challenging part for you?
Oh, gotta think about this now. I think probably the fact that I fully accept that I'm still learning and I make mistakes as everyone else would. But oh, you've rattled me with this question.
You kind of touched. You touched a little bit on being young, being so young. You know, when you kind of.
That's definitely a huge one. The fact that I am so new, I am so junior, and I am so young. I get treated a little bit on the bad side, not the bad side, but due to my age. But other than that, everyone's been quite accepting and quite lovely about it. But it's also nice to know that people, because of that, have also stepped up and given me more education and more explanation behind it. They'll be more willing to show me things. But I probably do recommend, or like probably one of the hardest things is trying to find your footing if you don't know anyone in town or anyone in the area. So I'm so glad that I ended up reaching out to people on staff and being like, what sports can I get involved in? And ended up getting roped into hockey again, which is so much fun. And I'm used to playing like turf up here. It's like mud and slouch, and you're half of it, and it's a whole lot of fun. But yeah, I probably would say the adjustment was hard, knowing that I've got all my friends and family back in Perth and things like I'm not even 21 yet, and all my friends are turning 21, so having to work between coming back from firsts and all that, and it is hard, being so junior, but it's nothing that doesn't have a bad stigma around it at all. Like it's more or less on the journey, and like even looking back now from when I've started to where I've become now, I have grown and learned so much, but there is still so much for me to learn. So it's more or less just because I'm going to go finish my grad in 6 months doesn't mean I'm going to stop learning, or that's not an excuse for me to not go out and find more education for myself. So,
I think especially kind of now, I think nursing more than ever, it is a lifelong learning profession because so many things change. I mean, we just have to look at COVID and what's happened in the last 18 months, 2 years, you know, that was a change none of us really saw coming, but we do have to be able to learn new skills, and I think you never stop learning as a nurse ever. It's, you know, part of our professional development, but also it's a necessity, isn't it? Because so many things change so quickly.
Definitely.
What was the most challenging time for you, Iris, in your journey so far, do you think? I know.
I probably touching back on the palliative stuff is probably all the palliative work that I've seen. Like I've doing prac, you've come onto the ward sometimes on like your first day of prac, and you may have heard of someone that's passed away in the morning, and you maybe help with the aftercare stuff, but I've never actually, until I've been down where I am, have actually seen a full like palliative story, more or less.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful and it's nice. And I find it really touching to know that someone can come into the ward who may be under the palliative team or under whatever not, and you can see them for the next time whilst they're on the ward, either getting better or worse for whatever reason. And it's nice to know who they are, and you're not just kind of walking in from like a praxis being like, oh, okay, I've been told you're XYZ. I think that's really beautiful, but it's also really challenging because you just see the family and you see how just like it's sometimes heartbreaking. You go home crying. But yeah, other than that, there are some, I feel like the Southwest, or from where I am at the moment, it's a lot of more aged care and a lot of care awaiting placement sort of scenarios. It's not so much like trauma, all that sort of stuff. And it's also, so I think that's probably the hardest thing I've currently seen.
I love the way you describe that as a palliative story, because that's coming at it from a person-centered approach, isn't it? It's, you know, seeing the person and understanding their life story, their journey. You see the family, you're part of that, almost that extended family when you're working in palliative care and helping patients. And I think it's a real privilege to have those opportunities to be part of that. And it is challenging because it is often work that kind of does make you feel sad, because you do have that connection and you develop that closeness with the person and their extended family. But I think the skills you learn, excuse me, in palliative care are skills that help you as a communicator, a good communicator, because you've had to deal with difficult conversations and talk to families, and you learn so much from that. And that's a good thing.
And even from like the very start, like simple things of like how to talk to them. Like sometimes you walk into a patient, you just go, where do I start? How do I talk? And now it's kind of, you can't get me to stop talking to them. It's just, it's a nice change, and it's nice to know that I feel like I've learned enough to feel comfortable it being thrown into different situations and knowing how, and I have the skills behind me to handle it.
And that kind of leads me into, you've mentioned one of the ways that you kind of manage your resilience and self-care is you play hockey. But I just kind of want to revisit that a little bit in terms of when you have those difficult days, how do you take care of you? What is it that works for you when you come away feeling sad or something's happened that's been a challenge? How do you deal with that?
I'm an absolute cookaholic, so sometimes I will come home and absolutely cook and bake my heart out. I recently actually made an Instagram because my partner was sick of seeing all the photos I was sending him. He's like, just send them to someone else because there's so much on here. Like, there's so much. But I currently, and it's so annoying because it's only me that I live with, and I cook for like, I've got a big family, so I'm used to cooking for like 8 to 10 people, and now it's just me. So I've got all these piles of food. I'm like, I'll just take it into work. How do I deal with it? I probably, for the best and the worst ways is sometimes if it's been a really, really bad day, because I do live on major country roads, sometimes just going for a drive and I'm an avid One Direction listener. I feel like I'm very old saying that, but I sometimes just play some music and I would just go for a drive and just have a huge cry or a sing along, and normally that sometimes works the best for me. And sometimes it's just even just ringing like my mum and just not even telling her about my day, or just talking about how the dog is doing and what's going on in her life, and just kind of centering myself. But yeah, I definitely say probably food and just talking to people and just getting a good sense of grounding definitely does help.
And that's great because everybody's different in how they deal with that. You know, I talk to a lot of nurses, interview a lot of nurses for the podcast, and everybody has one thing that works for them, and that's great. And if that's cooking for you, well, that's great. You know, it's having of course, chocolate.
So much chocolate. Oh my God.
That's so much a nursey thing, isn't it? Chocolate. It's like we love it.
Definitely.
And it does make you feel better after a bad day.
It does. It does. And I don't know what it is, but it does the job every time.
What advice, Iris, would you give to someone who's maybe listening to this episode and perhaps coming to the end of their training and thinking about, grad placements, knowing what you know now and having been on this adventure? What advice would you give to someone who's in that space where you were?
Yeah. I just say go for it. Whether it's you wanna don't let anything hold you back. Like, I know that for me, like, one of the big things was age. I didn't think I'd get anywhere because I was so young. But I recommend going rural. Like, it is one of the best experiences, and I've learned probably more than I have on my pracs combined. I've seen so much and learned so many handy tricks, and
Yeah,
because we're not only like a general ward, we've got an ED, a full functioning ED department that I work in. We do surgeries once or twice a week as well with visiting surgeons.
yeah,
So it's more or less I've seen and learned so much, and I don't think I could have gotten that anywhere else
yeah,
from if I worked in there. And it's more or less don't be scared of different areas. Like, I know when I first started, palliative absolutely freaked me out, and I was so scared of it. But I'm glad, like, if I do walk away from this job in the next year or two, I'm so glad that I've got that experience up my sleeve and be like,
yeah,
I can go in and happily work with X patients, or I can go
yeah.
comfortably and do a wound care that is packed, or I can use a hoist because we're a very cool site. We've got fancy hoists in our ceilings, and
Ah,
it is the coolest thing. And they are even walking in and seeing things like a urine analysis robot machine that analyzes it on a little receipt for us. Like,
yeah,
just get involved. Don't let an area scare you. Like, I've had
no,
mental health at the moment. It's really great to go working if you want different experiences.
yeah,
But yeah, just go for it. Don't let it hold you back.
no, no. That's great
And have
because
a good car, good fuel in your car. Have a good car that's got good kilometers, because that will save you as well.
yeah, yeah, and it's a fabulous opportunity and experience, and I think sometimes people perhaps discount that because it is, you do have to uproot yourself. It is a distance to travel, but the benefits from your story far outweigh any kind of negatives because of what you've gained in terms of experience. And that's just such a fabulous experience to have if been there and had to improvise, and yet you have cool technology. A lot of people probably wouldn't even realize that, that working in
Mm,
a rural area, there tends to be sometimes the thought that, it's a little bit behind the times, but actually that's not the case. It's telehealth is a huge component of providing care and all the cool equipment that you've got that helps you do your role. So it's kind of busting some of those misconceptions about working in a rural area. There's a lot to be gained, an awful lot.
yeah, definitely. And most sites now, I think in the last 5 years, have actually been renovated and updone. Like, I know my hospital's, I think, 3 or 4 years old now, but they are insanely state of the art, and
Yeah,
they are the coolest places I've worked.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, you're a fabulous advocate, Iris, for, thinking about a placement in rural Western Australia, or even any other state, encouraging young nurses who are qualified to think about that as a career choice. I think that's been my takeaway from listening to your story is how much of a positive role model you are for that. And I, I just think I'm so interested to see where you go next. Maybe I'll have to ask you back in a couple of years and say, come back
More than
and,
happy to come back.
share your story, because I am genuinely excited to see, where you go and what you do next, because in a lot of ways it's probably a hard thing to kind of do something different again because you've enjoyed it so much, and pulling yourself away from that to do something different. But then, you're off learning new skills again, doing different things, and that sense of adventure, you could go anywhere, like you say, go to the Northern
Definitely.
Territories and different experience again. So it's been an
But I think
absolute,
the best part is also the fact that even though I've done my enrolled nurse, I'm so glad I did that compared to my paramedicine, because I've actually opened myself up to so many more opportunities.
Yeah.
And I can go so much further than I ever thought I could. And I realize now that I can specialize, or I can go into different areas, or I can go back and learn paramedicine if I ever wanted to, or go back and become a doctor. Who knows what's in the path for the next few years. So, yeah.
Oh, well, it's been lovely to chat with you today, Iris. I've thoroughly enjoyed hearing your story, and there's lots of takeaways, I think, for nurses who listen to this episode, particularly in terms of broadening their thinking about placement. So I really thank you for your time today. It's been a real pleasure.
That's all right. Thank you so much for having me.
You're very welcome.